Oh, it's not Billy we're waiting on. It's technical difficulties. How do I punch into this chat though?
Can hear you.
There it is.
Hey, shall I call you Benji or Michael?
Benji works. Billy, how are you?
He's got
Always
Benji
good.
on.
All right, hey all, I believe we are finally live. All right, let us know in the comments if you guys can see us and hear us properly.
All right. Says we're live.
There you go. I see all those comments coming through.
Here they come. All good.
Technology nowadays.
Technology. How did we ever live without it?
Yeah, right.
How are we ever going to survive with it? Back in the old days, you just pick up the phone and you'd call somebody and they'd hear an audio. Now people won't tolerate that. So, well, let me start things off here. Let me start off the chat, and all of this pressure is going to go on Benji. Benji,
Oh, yeah?
you're gonna have people watching, listening, from all over the world, and I would say probably more in the Chicago area than anywhere. And everybody wants to know, when are you going to reopen? Is there any thoughts, any news, any negotiations? Do you have any pull?
Listen, my prior life, I was a bouncer. Believe me, unfortunately, we are we're at the mercy of the state at this point. Rumor has it, first couple of weeks of January. So we're trying to get open, and believe me, I'm excited, especially for some of our classic gamers out there. I've got a whole area dedicated just to the classic games and all the Pac-Man games. So as soon as I find out, believe me, we will blast it everywhere, and we're gonna have a hell of a celebration.
All
right, and everybody's invited, I guess.
Everybody's invited.
Okay. All right. Well, to everyone that's joining in and watching our live, thank you so much for being here. My name is Mohammed. I'm the marketing manager for Namco USA. And today we have on the call Michael Benjamin, who is the general manager for Pac-Man Entertainment. And I'm sure many of you guys are from Chicago, have been to Pac-Man Entertainment. It's a fantastic place, fantastic food, a lot of things to be doing. Anytime I go there, I always find something new to do. It's a great place. Today we're going to be joined by none other than Billy Mitchell. And if you guys are an avid fan of Pac-Man, then you already know who Billy Mitchell is. Mr. Mitchell is considered to be the video game player of the century. He's known to be the first person to achieve the highest score in Pac-Man and several other titles. Today we have the chance to talk to the player of the century and get to know him a little bit better. So, Mr. Mitchell, thanks so much for joining us today. We're very excited to have you on the stream.
Oh, I'm always happy. Anytime thing that involves Namco, somehow I seem to have better.
Right. Mr. Mitchell, are you still there? Still with us? It looks like we lost him. Mike, do you see him live, or is that just me there?
Still on my first man.
Oh, there you go. You're back in. You cut off there for a second.
Absolutely.
All right. So, we have a lot of fun and exciting things planned for all of our viewers today. Now, this year, Pac-Man celebrated its 40th anniversary. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we cannot celebrate it together at Pac-Man Entertainment. However, during this live stream, we're going to be giving away some awesome prizes. You saw some of the prizes we put up on Facebook we're going to give away. In addition, for everyone that's watching us today, you will receive 2 free entries to our 40th anniversary sweepstakes. And in the sweepstake, we're giving away a Miss Pac-Man and a Galaga combination cabinet, as well as this really cool limited edition Xbox One that we have. And then there's a lot of other prizes as well. So you guys will see some more information on how you can get your free entries towards the end of the stream. So make sure you guys are watching and stay tuned to win these awesome prizes. And throughout this live stream, we're going to be giving away some other prizes as well. So don't go anywhere. Uh, so, so Mr. Mitchell, tell me a little bit about Pac-Man and how you first learned about Pac-Man.
Well, actually, I was a hardcore pinball player. It was the late 70s into the early 80s, and I'm not a person who embraces change very easily. And everything started pushing towards video games, and I wasn't wanting to do that. And then finally, because that's where the competition was, I stepped towards video games, and there's this big yellow cabinet in the middle of the arcade that nobody could get near. So first, I didn't play it. I couldn't get to it. And but eventually I could, and I began playing it, and I began getting frustrated. But what I remember very much so was, so the time is 1980. It's 1981, and what's so intimidating and relatively new to so many people, myself included, was something called a computer. And now this was a way to be introduced to a computer in a fun, friendly manner. And that's the way that I actually accepted or embraced it. And it was me against the computer. It was me against the AI. It was fun. It was intriguing. And it caused me to want to push myself to higher limits. As time went on, you just simply wanted to get pushed higher and higher. You wanted to be the best one in the arcade. Eventually, you're the best one in the arcade. They can beat you. Other arcades. Well, then I went to Florida looking else was that good or that, and that was my first introduction to it. And I think one of the things that pushed me in that direction was because not only did I see it, but I saw it on TV. I saw it on the TV show Taxi. It became part of a cultural that made its way into our society. It was fun. It wasn't the same kill, smash. It was awesome.
So it was definitely something different at that time. Now I'm actually quite young, so I wasn't even around when Pac-Man was released. All right, so I missed all the hype and what it was all about. Right, Michael, you were probably there at that time when Pac-Man was there. Do you recall and hearing about Pac-Man?
Me, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I am old, not like you, young man. But so by my house there was an arcade called Aladdin's Castle, and same as Billy, it was like you always saw kind of there was this big attraction around these games, and Pac-Man was being one of them, and totally drew my attention to it as well. So absolutely, I remember going there with a roll of quarters every single day, trying to get up there and get there. And unfortunately, I'm nowhere near the skill level of our esteemed guest, but I got to maybe the 10th or 11th screen.
All right, well,
it's funny. It's funny you say that. When a couple of weeks ago, when I met Benji and we were down at Galloping Ghost, I was at one of the extreme levels when I stopped and I was talking to him, and I had lost one guy, but I had 5 left. And I said, "Here, come here. I want to see you play this. I want to see how you do." He had 5 guys to clear one board. He didn't. He kept saying, "Why are the guys going so fast? Why is my guy going so slow? How come they're not turning blue?" And I'm sorry, Benji. That's a game I play with most everybody I meet. So
that was totally unfair. I was done. He's standing there for hours, and I was done in a matter of, I don't know, a minute or two.
absolutely.
Right. So, Mr. Mitchell, I know just recently you accomplished something very exciting, right? Can you tell us, what that was about and what you were planning to do, and if you actually achieved that goal? Now, a lot of your fans already know that you did achieve the goal, but tell us how you did it and why you wanted that goal.
Well, going all the way back to 2005, I was in the back of the restaurant with a couple of very distinguished players whose names the people would recognize on stream here, and we were playing, and we just wanted to get up to the final phase, the split screen, and we got there, and we're running around, and I'm running around. I'm just having fun. They were eating, to be honest with you, and I ate the secret 9 dots, and I was just running around doing nothing, exploring, when suddenly I heard chomp, and that was number 10, which caused the two of them to jump out of their seat and run over. And I said, wow, that was number 10. There's only number 10. And so meant that perfect score for the 20th reunion edition that you're giving away to and then sometime shortly Namco coming to visit. And so that's exactly what happened. It remained a secret, and around 2015, one of the distinguished players who was with me when we learned about it, he let the cat out of the bag a little bit. So other people were aware of it to some degree. It just, they hadn't done it, they hadn't executed it. It is a little more difficult. The screen is larger. The joystick is different. I had to relearn it. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I took the time to do it. But it was something that Guinness World Records called Beyond the Perfect Pac-Man. And it was something that when I spoke to them about it way long ago, I said, I want to do it on Pac-Man's birthday, May 22nd, on the 40th birthday. And we agreed that I would do it at Namco, at Pac-Man Entertainment. Unfortunately, closed, pandemic, a lot of changes. Yeah. I'm sorry to say, a lot of impact on the staff there. You couldn't impose a score or a record on people who were in such a challenging position. A couple times I know you guys tried to reschedule the Pac-Man party, but the world hasn't gotten better yet. So eventually we decided that it would be Guinness has Guinness Day in November, and that's when I would begin. And since we couldn't go to Namco, Namco came to us, and we did it there at Galloping Ghost. And that's where I was saying hi, having fun, picking on Benji. I look forward to coming to Namco and doing something and a Pac-Man party and doing it again.
100%. You know, I mean, we're working very hard on rescheduling the Pac-Man anniversary party, and we're hoping it can be held sometime soon. But with the government regulated shutdowns, it's very hard to say. However, what we can say is when we do reopen and when we have this party planned, it's going to be fantastic. We're sure you do not want to miss it. We're going to have a live DJ. We're going to have some awesome food. We're going to have a cake cutting ceremony. And Mr. Mitchell, obviously, you're invited. So if you can attend it, it'll make that party 10 times better.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mr. Mitchell is usually what they call my son. They usually call me Billy, but
all right, I'll call you Billy. All right, good to know.
But it's do you see how when you take a world of what the effect that Pac-Man has on the people involved, you take a world of celebration like that is Guinness, that is Namco, that is Galloping Ghost, that is the fun, the pastime that all of us, all of us. At least is some awesome. And score that I did. I'll be looking for something else because it's just awesome sharing it with people.
100%. I agree. Now, I know that Pac-Man era 1980s was a fantastic era. The game was very exciting and new to everyone. But aside from Pac-Man, what other games were popular at that time? I know you're known for several other games, but you know, tell us about your experience with the other nostalgic titles that you've played with and experienced at that era.
Well, when I said I initially couldn't get to the big yellow cabinet in the middle because I just couldn't. There was too many people. So I stepped over and I played Donkey Kong. That was the that I absolutely maxed out to the end, to the kill screen. That was the game that got me in Life magazine. But other games, just by good fortune, I don't really have a reason for it. I seem to pick games that were enormously popular. Centipede was a game that I once played for 47 hours.
Oh my God! How did you manage to do that? I mean,
What?
yeah, right. That's
I didn't know that.
47
That's
hours.
crazy.
Yeah, well, what it is back then, not so much now. They had Toys for Tots, and I got sponsored by different people for every hour I could play, just like you get sponsored in a marathon for every hour or every mile you can walk. And we did it in late October, and I said, gee, how many hours do you think I can play? And I mean, I played and played and played and played. And there's other people who could do it as well. I was just too stubborn to quit when I should have. I mean, at 25 million points, it wouldn't have been any less impressive if I did it for 23 million or 21 million or 15 million. I just kept pushing the envelope. But and then every great game like Pac-Man often has a game to follow that's equally as great, like Miss Pac-Man. Donkey Kong had Donkey Kong Jr. Again, there was Centipede. Another game was Burger Time. Again, each one of those games, I feel fortunate that I chose those games. Because of those games' popularity, I met more people. I interacted with more people. And meeting people and sharing the experience of what we're talking about is actually most of the fun.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And most of the games you've actually played have shaped who you are today. Even though I wasn't alive during all these nostalgic game titles, I've grown up playing Pac-Man still. I mean, I know Pac-Man's on many different consoles that you can play now. So I remember the first time I was playing Pac-Man, I believe it was on like PS2 or PlayStation 2. So it goes way back for me then. But unfortunately, it wasn't on the original cabinet for me. But how often did you find yourself playing Pac-Man while growing up, and how often did you play it?
Oh boy, this is see, I never skipped school, and I never missed work. That I had awake at the arcade because video were awesome. They still are. But in the 1980s, what made video games was arcade. And down here in Fort Lauderdale, we had the world's largest arcade, and it was 24 hours every day. So you'd be hard pressed not us there. And again, back then there weren't cell phones, we didn't have pagers, anything. If somebody said, where's Billy? They would go look arcade, and they would find me. There were times I had to go into work because somebody didn't show up, and I'm walking around the arcade, and suddenly I hear a voice behind me, and I turn around, I see somebody from work, and I go, oh no.
Yeah, that's not a good time to be caught.
Yeah, I have to go, I have to go to work, and that was just that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So
now, during this time,
I played continuously, to be honest with you.
Okay, so most of the time it was at an arcade, but did you have like a Pac-Man cabinet at home at the time?
In 1983, because some arcades were beginning to close, I was able to get an arcade cabinet. Yeah, I did have one in 1983 for a while, and that's when we made the hardcore advances in strategies, in scores, and knowledge about perfect games and things like that. That was unbelievable. You could imagine. I mean, having a Pac-Man machine in your home would be like a Disney addict having a roller coaster at home. I mean, it was incredible. And then, to be honest, at that time, you couldn't tear me out of my room. I was always in my room. And in some ways, I think it was good. All the different temptations that a teenager has. I was locked into video games. It kept me out of trouble. It kept me past those, away from those dangerous years, if you want to say that, where you could head in the wrong direction. Luckily, I didn't do that.
So, Michael, tell me about you, what you have at home currently. I know you're working at Pac-Man Entertainment, so you're probably getting to play a lot of Pac-Man during your free time there, but do you have something at home?
No, I unfortunately do not have a cabinet at my house. I have, your typical gaming units, PS4s and such, and I go on and play the retro games as well on my phone, as well. But when I want to play a retro game, I just go to work, man. I mean, we got everything from
There you go.
Centipede to all that with Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man. I mean, everything you could think of is there. So I pretty much just go to work. So
well,
there you go.
It's funny you say that. One of the good fortunes that I've had with the fun or notoriety that I've gained is I've had companies send me a cell phone, and it's a cell that's Pac-Man, and want to know how close authentic is it. Sitting there on a cell phone, this was years ago, and different times companies sent me games and said, "Here, play this game and tell us what you think." So I was always a little bit of special treatment because of the good fortune I had, and I look back on that, and I mean, I cherish that because the experience of Pac-Man has brought me something that it would have never brought me. The idea that a kid video games would be flown across the ocean first class to stand on a stage with the godfather of video games, Masaya Nakamoto. Yeah. I said to him when I met him, I said, there's not a kid in the world who ever played video games that wouldn't want to be right here, right now. And,
No, I agree. Now, one of the questions I asked to everyone watching is if they have any, Pac-Man arcade cabinets at home or not. Now, if you guys don't or you guys want one, here's an awesome chance for you guys to get that. Like I said, we're talking about the sweepstakes, so you guys can win that Miss Pac-Man cabinet or take away an Xbox or win some awesome games. So make sure you guys are staying tuned and engaged in the comments, and we'll make sure we'll get you guys your entries. And we'll announce the winners during the Pac-Man party.
And by the way, if I can just jump in here to answer a few of these, because I can't see these chats, but for the person that asked about the burger time, yes, the burger time and the games are all ready to go. So come on.
So, if you win this Pac-Man cabinet, then you have an opportunity to practice and perhaps beat the game. I mean, Billy already done it. He's already beat it. You won't be the first person, but still an accomplishment to beat the game. Now, I know you have to get a score of 3,333,360 points, which is definitely not easy. So, Billy, tell us how you did that. I mean, how long did it take you to accomplish that goal, and how often would you practice to get that goal?
Well, again, going back to 1983 is where we really poured in the hardcore hours to determine what a perfect score was. There was a secret combination of dots on the final screen, on the split screen. And we learned the secret, and we just kept it a secret, and we didn't share it with anybody, outside of Walter Day. And as time went on, more and more people were getting better and better, but nobody ever knew the secret. I would talk to people, they would claim A, B, and C. I'd talk to them and I'd say, no, don't worry about that guy. And then one day a phone call came, and on a big conference call, I was with some guys from Canada and Walter Day, and I asked them a half a dozen questions that nobody in the world knows the answer to. It's not in any books. It's never been spoken of. And they gave me back a half a dozen answers that nobody in the world would know exactly the way I would have answered them. And at that point I said, wow, these guys are for real. That's an exact quote. And there began the race for the perfect Pac-Man. And I kept saying, I didn't wait all these years. I didn't sit on my hands for somebody to jump in front of me. Again, great guys, great players. And being every single dot. D6 and never.
Right.
All right. You're the last one. Okay. Thank you.
Final secret. You have to know that. They knew that, but they were the first ones that we were aware of who along with us. So that's what made us hit the gas pedal. And that was Ori. Again, my own good fortune. Pac-Man is an icon that has absolutely captured the world. It's become a part of culture. It's as recognizable as Mickey Mouse. So when the story went out, it went out around the world. Publications picked it up. I could have never made that happen. I don't know. I don't think any amount of money could have made that happen. It was just good luck and good energy And that story made its way around the world. That story made its way to Japan, made its way to Namco. And literally, I mean, I just knew it was coming. And one day I was looking at the phone and I saw that number and I saw the caller ID ring from California. And that was when my relationship with Namco began. So, and that was my ticket across the ocean.
That was pretty exciting. Now I know there's a couple of different ways to play better Pac-Man, right? There's a couple of tips and tricks, and one of the things I want to talk to you is I know the Pac-Man Ghosts actually have a different pattern that they take. They all have different behaviors. Can you tell us a little bit about that? But before you go into that, I want to ask you, right, and I want to ask everyone in the audience as well, who your favorite Pac-Man is, or I'm sorry, your Pac-Man's Ghost, and tell us why.
Yeah, well, I'm a wise guy. And I used to, when people said, "Who's your favorite ghost?" I used to say Casper.
Well, it's always got to be the friendly one, right?
Yeah, but the truth is, my favorite is the red guy because he's the most aggressive. And that's where I focus. The red guy, which is Blinky, also named Shadow. That's where I focus my initial attention first to get control of what I'm doing. And so without a doubt, it's absolutely the red guy. For sure. But in my conversations and the relationship that I formed with Professor Ayatwani, who designed Pac-Man, he shared with me the fact that each ghost has a different personality, a different strategy, a different aggression. And that was something he fought hard for during the development because people, including Masaya Nakamoto, said, no, they all should have the same aggression, the same color, the same movement. And he argued, and luckily successfully. For example, if you play Rally X, every car has the same personality, the same aggression, the same look. And he argued for it to be different and that it would create a different gameplay. And of course it does. But it was awesome developing a relationship with him because the thoughts and the struggles that he went through during the development, he shared so many of them with me. I absolutely have them here. Every time I go to a convention, every time I do a panel discussion, every time I'm asked, I have those answers exactly as given to me. And that's a very special experience I've had in my life, is developing the relationship with him, who developed the game, and of course Masaya Nakamoto, who they call the father.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, how many tries did it take you to beat the game? I know you kind of already talked about this, but I was hoping you can actually show me and everyone watching some tips and tricks to get better at Pac-Man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the Pac-Man game up on there for you, and perhaps you can answer the question, how long did it take you to beat the game, while showing us some tips and tricks.
I guess that's over here.
I think we see Galaga up there now. Let's switch that over to Pac-Man. So,
well, I'll go ahead and start playing, and we'll see if that answers that.
Yeah, I mean, walk us what you're thinking while you're playing this game. Tell us some tips that you've learned or something that's interesting to you.
Well, from the start of the board, for 5 seconds, each one of the 4 adversaries simply goes to cover their corner. After 5 seconds, then they begin to pursue you. And when they begin to pursue you, they pursue you for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds of trying to pursue you, that's when they go and they head to their corner again for 5 seconds. It's coming right here. And when they head to their corners, they don't know where you are. You get literally in their face. They don't know where you are. But after 20 seconds, they're what we call on the hunt again. So you utilize those 5 seconds to do whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
So,
Billy, we're having trouble seeing the screen. I think I don't know if you guys can see that as well, but it's on the menu for me. There you go.
I did not know that it does that for 20 seconds. I was unaware of that. That's awesome. That's a great tip. I didn't realize that's how that worked.
What happens is, once again, for 20 seconds they pursue you, but then again you get a 5-minute break. It's during that time period you can maneuver to a particular place. But every one of them has a movement, like right here. Again, they're back on their 5 seconds.
Huh.
Okay, and now they're back on the hunt.
Yeah, like I said, there's a little bit of a delay about that. That's true. I can see the comments in the chat.
Yeah. Huh. So how many tries did it take you? I mean, so if you want to beat the game right now, how long will it take you to beat it?
Oh.
What I would do is I would play, and I could do it as quickly as 4 hours if I patterns. If I didn't want to use patterns, if I wanted to do it the difficult way, the hard way, the way it's meant to be played, then it would take between 5 6 hours. You know, everybody thinks that there's 2 escape routes, and that's each tunnel. But the truth is that there's 6 escape routes. Okay, the 2 that are directly below the box, the vertical ones, and then the 2 above the box, right here. They will not follow you up those routes. So if you're being pursued, not only can you go through any one of the tunnels, but you can simply go up either one of these vertical channels.
Okay.
Right here.
You know, whenever I play Pac-Man, I always try to get the fruits, but sometimes they disappear before I can even get to them, right?
Yeah,
so I know there are different fruits.
Once they pop out.
What was that?
Yeah, you have about 10 seconds to get the prize once it pops out.
Okay. Yeah. And I know different fruits give up different amount of points, but which fruit offers the most? Which one should I not miss?
Oh, eventually you get to the keys. And with the keys, they're worth 5,000 points. So you surely don't want to miss that.
The keys. Yep, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, the keys begin on board 13. And when you play, you eventually go to board 18. And when you're on board 18, as ridiculous as it sounds, you eat the Energizer, or as Professor Ayatwani calls them, the power cookies. Mm-hmm. and they no longer turn blue.
Okay. Well, you know, you just brought up Professor Awatani. Tell me how you met him and what was it like to meet him. I mean, he's a creator of the Pac-Man game, so he's definitely an icon out there. And tell me how you met him and what you guys talked about.
Right. He actually was not in Japan when I went there in 2000 or in 1999. He wasn't there. But in 2006, I was in New York City at an event, and he was there. And that was the first time that I actually met him. It was the first time that I spent time and conversed with him. And that sounds a little funny because his English is about as good as my Japanese. And that was fun. But without a doubt, the best moments I ever spent with him was there at Pac-Man Entertainment. Of course, back then it was called 257.
Mm-hmm.
He was there for the 35th anniversary in 2015. And yeah. I met him there, and I spent time with him there. And it was really awesome because he had an interpreter. He was able to tell me secrets, so many different things he did that he knew. For example, I never knew that within 2 years of development of Pac-Man, he was involved in the development of pole position. And I say that because in the arcade, pole position was something that just jumped through the roof because it was the game that came out that had such a tremendous graphics. And I had no idea that his legacy in the world of video games. I mean, it absolutely began with Pac-Man. I mean, he was 22 years old, and being 22 years old and being, the creator of the absolute iconic game that really set the industry on fire is awesome. But again, he was only 22 years old, and it was only the beginning of his storybook career. in the world of video games and the development of video games. He's absolutely somebody that, you know, I would go out of my way to see on most any occasion. And I had the distinct pleasure of being there in 1999 in Tokyo when the award was given for the game of the century, which was Pac-Man. It was determined that Pac-Man had been played more times than any other game in history. I mean, not only just any video game, but any game. I mean, including Monopoly or anything. It had been considered that it had been played 10 billion times. And so to be there for Namco, for Masaya Nakamura, and for Professor Ayatwani to have received such an honor, you know, for their creation was awesome.
Yeah, no, he's definitely changed the industry of how we look at gaming, and Pac-Man is easily recognizable by everyone. I mean, everyone knows what Pac-Man is, whether you're born in this generation or the previous one. So everyone knows what Pac-Man is. It's definitely an exciting game to be playing. I think that's a nostalgic game, and it's going to continue growing, I think. Now, I know that you're not only great at Pac-Man, but many other games. You know, you were named the Video Game Player of the Century in 1984. But you were also, you know, recognized for Donkey Kong. So tell me some experience or some challenges you faced while playing Donkey Kong.
Well, Video Game Player 1984 was Video Game Player of the Year. It was there in Tokyo.
Billy, can you actually move your speaker right in front of you? I'm hearing an echo. Thank you. There you go.
Actually, 1984 was Video Game Player of the Year. Video Game Player of the Century was 1999 there in Tokyo. Again, to be in the presence and to be honored like that by Masaya Nakamura was beyond incredible. Game with Donkey Kong more than anything, the idea of wanting to be a photo thread with a group of players in what was considered the world's first organized esport event. But it with Donkey Kong that absolutely lit me up in the world of competitive gaming. I wanted nothing more than to play and be the best. But again, I sit there and I look around and I say, if I'm going to be the best, I have to be the best at the game that is highest in demand. It happens to be a game that I enjoyed so much, Pac-Man, but I can take anybody out there, anybody, and tomorrow, and you can get the world record on Squid Search because nobody ever submitted a score on Squid Search. But the competition on games like Pac-Man were incredible. So it began with Donkey Kong, but once I made my mark there at Life Magazine, I knew the next mark that I had to make was stepping up even, and that was to Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man, who has a birthday next year. But one of the things that makes a difference, and I guess I'm saying thank you here, Namco created these games, and Namco has worked very, very hard throughout the years. Pac-Man and Pac-Man and the derivatives of Pac-Man that have come afterwards from Namco have been terrific, and they have worked really hard to make Pac-Man a cultural icon. I mean, besides cereal, besides board games, I mean, besides music, it is always and forever evolving. Namco constantly does something to keep their creation in the spotlight. That's not true with every company. Not every company has the heart or the emotional attachment like Namco does with Pac-Man. A lot of companies, they produce a game, they make money off it, they move to the next one. If you want to understand how much Namco loves Pac-Man, just try violating their intellectual property. You'll learn quick.
Very true.
No, they protect Pac-Man just like a parent protects a child. But it's because they push and promote it is why it's continually enjoyed and a favorite by people like me, without a doubt. I often spoke to David Bishop about that because more than anyone throughout those years, he was the go-between between me and Japan. I was at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington where Pac-Man was honored. That's what I mean. What other video game icon has been honored in that manner?
Yep.
I was there with him. There was a lot of questions, panels, filming. All of that was put together, and it was sent back to Japan to Masaya Nakamura. There was a continued relationship that went on. It's a storybook relationship. And God bless the people at other companies. I don't think anybody else, any other company,
Did we lose you?
I think you froze up for a minute there.
I'm here.
Oh, there it
Oh,
is.
there you go. You're back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to take some questions from the audience, right? So, everyone, here's your chance to ask Billy Mitchell, the player of the century, a question. So, drop your questions in the comments. We'll pick out a couple of questions. We'll pin it on the screen, and you get to ask Billy whatever questions you want. So, let's see some of those questions come through.
I've seen a few on there already. One of them was asking, besides Pac-Man, what's your other favorite game? You have another favorite game, Billy?
Well, my usual answer is I'll be playing. In 1999, I did the perfect score at Fun Spot. Well, 20 years later, I'm playing at Fun Spot to relive that perfect score. And that question came over, and the question was, Billy, what do you enjoy playing more as I'm struggling with Pac-Man? Pac-Man or Donkey Kong? And I looked at the guy and I go, right now, Donkey Kong, a whole lot more. And if I'm playing Donkey Kong and I'm struggling, yes, I wish I was doing nothing but playing Pac-Man. So it's a struggle I go back and forth on. Those are probably the two games that I'm most attached to. And they're certainly the games that have either launched me in a certain direction or given me the greatest level of honor, without a doubt.
All right. Well, so we have a question come in. It says, what's your high score on Junior Pac-Man?
Junior Pac-Man is not something that I've put a lot of time in. I would not say that I've gotten over 200,000 on Junior Pac-Man, but this year is the birthday or the anniversary of Pac-Man. Next year is Miss Pac-Man, so I'll be addressing things. And the following year would be Junior Pac-Man. And it's at that point I'm going to make a really, really hard push. There are other great players on Junior Pac-Man, one in particular, and he's a good guy, and we'll see if I play well enough to get next to him. But
Practice
he's a good
makes perfect, right?
Yes.
So, one of the questions I was going to ask you was, you said you play consecutively, sometimes for hours. How's your family supportive of that? I know when I'm gone for a couple of hours, it's pulling on my ear and come on, right? So how'd you get away with that?
Well, when you're a kid, when you're young and dumb and you don't have responsibilities, you can just flat out get away with it. People say to me now, how come you don't play any modern games? Why don't you play Fortnite? Because if you played 40 or 50 hours, you wouldn't have a wife, you wouldn't have kids, you wouldn't have a business. I don't even think you'd have a home.
Yeah.
So that's why it's easy to embrace the old games, because once you learn how to ride a bike, you don't forget it. But when I'm at home, I don't play for long periods of time. I'll stream and I'll say hi to all the friends that we've made on the stream. But once I go to an event, once I announce I'm going to do something, like when I went to Fun Spot or when I went to Galloping Ghost, once I announce I'm going to do something, then I simply stay there until I do it. And if it means
there you go,
12 or 14 hours a day, then that's
all right.
I had somebody ask me at Galloping Ghost, they said, Billy, if you didn't get the perfect score here today, how long would you have stayed until you quit? And I said, I don't know. I've never quit. So bad question.
There you go. That's the right attitude.
I gotta tell you, just to piggyback on that, I can attest to that. I witnessed the fact that he does not quit. he played for days to make sure that we made sure that score was beat. So I thought that was fantastic to watch the determination that Billy had for that. It was just amazing.
So we had a question come in from Joe. He said, "Can you explain the competitive nature of the arcade back in the day, and how did you keep your cool when you were breaking records?"
Well, again, video games were awesome, but what made the world turn was the arcades. You can look it up. It's well documented that the music industry and the movie industry took a significant financial hit during those times because it was the arcade that occupied everybody's time. You were there, you were amongst friends, whether those friends played when you played, or whether they watched, or they look forward to your being there. It was always a friendly level of pressure because you're amongst friends and you want to stay ahead of them. I don't ever remember it being negative or nasty. I mean, not once, ever. And it created a group of people, a niche, just like in high school. You know, you have the jocks here and the nerds here and the geeks here. It was just like that. Back in the 80s, it was considered more geeky or more nerdy to be that video game guy. And the noise, again, being in the world's largest arcade, the noise, the overwhelming noise, distraction, people, it was unbelievable. But I actually think it was positive because then, just like now, if I'm in a barcade, there is so much noise, lights, distractions. It forces a full focus right onto the screen, and you have no choice but to put a radar lock on what you're doing. So I actually think the distraction, the menacing atmosphere of an arcade, I think if you channel it the right way, it was actually a tremendous advantage.
Okay. And then we have another question here. What's your favorite opportunity you were able to have due to your Pac-Man fame? So something you came across that changed your life.
Oh, without a doubt. To think as a game player that I was flown across the ocean by Masaya Nakamura, that I was given the honor and the treatment that he gave me, that I was in his Pac-Man studio arcades. There was media there. It was the first time that I was ever somewhere where I had an entourage of people in front of me that I didn't know. I mean, they were security because the crowd was tremendous. And sometime at one point, the crowd got a little rowdy or pushy, and they grabbed me on. I thought I was under arrest. They grabbed me like by each elbow, and they whisked me in the back room because the crowd had gotten so rowdy, I guess. And then we waited a little while, and it was safe, and so we went back out there. It was a lot of fun. I got to say that, like, one of the most sweating moments was I'm being interviewed by Japanese TV, and of course that's challenging. And they said, "Gee, can you give us an example of your gameplay?" And I said, "Sure." And the intention was just to play 3 boards. And I'm playing the very first board. And I suddenly realized that this was different from what I was used to in the United States. I took off, and like on the second corner, I'm about to get pinned in the corner. You can imagine I flew all the way to Japan to get pinned and embarrassed in the second corner. But I recognized it just as it happened, and I managed to bail out and get out. And it just took longer, but I managed to do the screen and survive, and I managed to get my bearings. And instead of doing 3 boards, I did 2, and I was so thrown off balance. After the second board, I turned around like, okay, I'm done. I didn't want to risk it a third time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really fun. But without a doubt, getting to the honor, after that experience, being in the Namco corporate offices, I was in a room. I had just met a gentleman by the name of Mr. Icky, who was a terrific guy and a personal assistant to Masaya Nakamura. He spoke English better than me. He explained that they were coming in and they were going to be seated to talk to me. And Masaya Nakamura walked in with 8 other guys. It was his inner circle of programmers, his inner circle of marketing people. And to think that I was seated there, and it's the very first thing I said. I said, to think that I'm seated here in front of you, I said, there's not a kid in the world that ever played video games that wouldn't want to be right here, right now. And I had told him that it was the second time I had met him. I had met him in 1983 in New Orleans, just by chance at a convention in a photo. And he was shocked at that. And he commanded his staff to find the photo. I don't know if they ever did, but I thought I did. I said to myself, I go, man, I can ask any question in the world. Every kid would want to be right here. And I asked him a question about Pac-Man. I asked him a question about the split screen. I asked him as to why it happened. And I said, is it because of this and that? And it's translated to him and the 8 others. And they came back and they said, Mr. Mitchell, we have no idea. We never thought scores like this possible. And I thought, geez, I didn't get an answer. And so I asked another question, really the same question, a little differently. And it went back and forth, back and forth. And Mr. Icky brought back the answer. They said, Mr. Mitchell, you know far more about Pac-Man than we know. We have no idea. Mm-hmm. But that moment that at that point, they had a question for me and I answered it. They had a question for me and I answered it. A question. And for the next hour, I fielded questions that came at me and I never asked another question. And I quickly realized that they had an equal or greater fascination for what we were all exchanging. That speaks to the level of Masaya Nakamoto and Namco, that the people that worked, the people that created, they had a passion for what they did. They had an enjoyment. They weren't just pencil pushers. And that meeting was so personal that I actually never spoke of it for 15 years. I never spoke of it. Wow. It was too personal to share. I thought that would be insulting. After meeting with Professor Ayatwani for the second time at Pac-Man Entertainment in 2015 for the 35th anniversary, he actually said those things. He actually spoke of those things. And because he spoke of it, I felt the freedom to speak of it like I am now. And it was great because we're on a panel discussion. You could ask him any question about Pac-Man, the development, his thoughts, knowledge, his experience. You asked him any question about the gameplay, and he would just shrug his shoulders and say, you have to ask Billy. Yeah. I
think if I remember correctly, it was the 35th anniversary of Pac-Man. You guys were in that panel discussion.
Yeah.
The video is still up on our YouTube channel for Pac-Man Entertainment. So if any of our audience members are interested in watching that panel discussion, just visit our YouTube page and you can watch that discussion there.
Yeah, we had given him an award there. It was really, really good and really, really flattering. But I really like sometimes my friends are wise guys, and that's my favorite part. They say, "Oh, you think you know everything?" I go, "Well, you think you know more about the game than the guy who made it?" And I go, "Well, yeah, he told me I did." You know. Sorry. So,
here's one more question we'll ask. What's your favorite menu at Pac-Man Entertainment? Now, I'm sure anytime you're in the area, you're making your trips to Pac-Man Entertainment. Do you remember any of the items that you enjoy?
Absolutely. Well, I enjoyed everything, but absolutely the wings.
The wings.
And
what about you?
Funny is, I'll order the wings, and they'll say, "You don't want anything else?" And I'll say, "No, just the wings." And they'll say, well, "Okay, I'm going to bring you something else too." And I'll eat the wings. Maybe that's like an appetizer, and then they'll bring me some kind of surprise, whatever it is. But I've never had anything there that wasn't good, ever.
There you go.
And it's awesome because I'll be seated there. There's other Pac-Man enthusiasts somewhere, and people come up, and we have these same level of conversation, admiration. I see one person's asking. I was there at the time called 257 with Professor Ayatwani, and he openly said that he couldn't play, that he was lucky to get 20,000. And he said, I never thought anybody would get more than 60 or 80,000. So I called him over and I said, okay, here. And you have a machine there called level 255. And it starts off at the board, one board before the end of the game. And you do that ultimate difficult board, the one that Benji crashed on 5 times.
Keep bringing it up, Billy. Keep bringing it up.
And then you get to play the split screen. Well, I said to him, I go, here, come here, let me show you this. And I, just because the professor's a novice at playing, I ran what we call the invincible pattern, where you actually go through 4 different ghosts 4 different times. And I mean, his eyes are lighting up like this.
Wow.
And then we get to the split screen. And I actually showed him how to do the split screen and how to do it and stay alive. And he can. And I said, now all you got to have to do is learn how to do the 255 boards before that. And he said, yeah, he said, not in my lifetime, never. So.
What about you, Michael? What's your favorite item over at Pac-Man Entertainment?
Me? Oh my gosh, there's so many good things there.
Right?
Really, thank you for the compliment. We really appreciate it.
Well, Michael, there's a rumor that each day when you eat lunch there, you open the menu and you just say, okay. That's just a rumor now. There's a lot of rumors out there.
Hey, it could. I can neither deny nor or accept that confirm that rumor. Listen, man, we got lots of great things there. Me personally, I love our sushi. I think our sushi is great, and our quesadilla bites that we recently brought back are one of my favorites for sure. So,
aside from that, I hear a lot of good things that are coming out of Pac-Man Entertainment. I know you're working on adding some things to our menu, and you're working with the chef on one-on-one to make sure that we can bring back some of the exclusive items and add new items on there. Aside from that, I know that you guys also have a new website. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So we took this time, obviously, with the pandemic going on, to kind of reevaluate and kind of tighten some things up. So we took the opportunity to create a brand new website, which is great. I think it showcases some of our great food there, also our great arcade room and our bowling alleys as well. And I recommend everybody kind of go there and check it out. We got some great stuff, and we've got some new stuff happening. As a matter of fact, next week we're going to try and start doing some carryout, some catering, some things like that, and eventually we're going to try and connect with some of these delivery companies and start doing some deliveries. So that's exciting stuff. And listen, first and foremost, Billy and I obviously will touch base, but as soon as this pandemic clears out, I got to say, I'm going to work with Billy's schedule, and we got to get him out there, and I want to have the greatest, biggest, fantastic party for Pac-Man's 40th and maybe 41st at that point. But we definitely want to just have a huge blowout. I know, Muhammad, you mentioned the live DJ. We'll actually have Pac-Man himself will be there as well. And again, we're going to have Billy there as our host as well, just as one of our guests to just celebrate. So I know everybody, if you're anything like me, you're going stir crazy. So we're just looking forward to that. And as Billy kind of mentioned too, and don't forget, next year, Ms. Pac-Man, you also got Galaga coming up. Dig Dug's anniversary is coming up as well. And he mentioned Junior Pac-Man as well. So there's a lot of great things that are starting to happen in the next couple of years, even though 2020 has been, a dumpster fire, if you will. But we're looking forward to celebrating those Namco's classic arcade games there at Pac-Man Entertainment. So
that's just awesome and exciting stuff to hear. Now, starting Monday, I know you can order carryout directly from our website. So starting Monday, make sure you visit our website and order carryout. You can pay online and pick up. And a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be coming out as well. So stay tuned on our social media. Now, I know there's a lot.
Well, I have one question coming across here.
Yeah.
They want to know, since you're going to have the menu items on carryout, is it possible you could put the games right outside the front door, and then people can play the games outside the front door? Just a rumor.
Just a rumor, huh? That's a pretty good selection. If I could have any type of gaming, we may just take that idea and run with it. We'll see. That would be legal for us to put it right outside the front door. We actually did have that over the summer. We brought a few games downstairs, so it's not a bad idea. Great call, Billy.
Well, I would say one other thing. Again, I keep stressing how Namco, how Pac-Man Entertainment, they work harder than most anyone else, on their icons, on what they've created in order to keep them forever in front and being enjoyed. It's incredible to me that you guys are putting an actual 20th anniversary edition to be given away to the public. One of the things that I kept talking about as I was at Galloping Ghost when you visited, and I wanted to say was, people were asking, how they can get involved with it. But my original vision back in May was to simply go there on Pac-Man's birthday and do a perfect score. And it wouldn't have mattered what machine I did it on.
Right.
But it was awesome that I realized that you were giving away a 20th anniversary machine, which obviously coincided and made sense when I was sent the email, and the email said, "Hey, Billy, you're going to do this perfect score. How about if you do it on the 20th anniversary machine?"
Right.
And I said, "Absolutely, I'll do that." Because I guess I want everyone in the world to know what you guys are doing and how do they participate in order to win the machine. Do they have to be there to win it? Do they have to be playing? Do they have to be eating while they play? Do they have to be dressed in a Pac-Man costume? So
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to all that.
Well, you can fill out entry forms every single day with us once we get reopened. You can also do that on our website as well, I believe, Mohammed, right? And then also we do ask that you're present for the giveaway for the sweepstakes. So whenever that does, so we do ask that you are present. We are going to have it at the party, so we definitely do that. No need to come dressed as Pac-Man. However, we always encourage everybody to come dressed in their best Pac-Man garb. It's been fun over the years to see people come in. I mean, I've got pictures. I mean, for those who don't know, there's a Pac-Man tuxedo. There's all kinds of Pac-Man ties and all kinds of Pac-Man clothing as well. So dresses and everything I've seen. So feel free to come dressed as that. But you definitely would recommend that you are. We do like if you were there at the party for the giveaway. But like I say, man, I'm just looking forward to it and excited to get it going once we're able to do this.
Yeah,
right. But how do you actually enter? I mean, can you enter online?
Yeah,
Sure.
well, so you guys can see information on that screen right there. Everyone that's watching gets 2 free entries to enter. So this is your only method of entering online. Otherwise, once we do reopen, you can enter, at our location. So you can either scan that QR code right there and fill out that form. If you can't scan that QR code, just visit rebrand.ly/PME and submit that form. You only need to submit one form. Your entry will be counted twice. So that's all you need to do to enter and get your 2 free entries. And again, as Michael said, we'll announce the winner on the day of the Pac-Man party, and hopefully we'll release some more information on that soon. So stay tuned on our social media pages and keep an eye out.
And every once you make that decision, once you have those dates etched in stone, I'll speak of them every single time, every single day that I stream.
Appreciate that.
Because I want it there. Absolutely.
All right.
Starting today, I'll do that for sure.
Perfect.
And, thank you, Billy.
All right, Benji, Billy, thank you so much for taking some time and answering some of these questions with me. I appreciate everyone else watching and answering your questions as well. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the stream. This will be on Facebook for later as well, so if you guys missed any portion of it, please go back and rewatch it. But just as a heads up, this QR code will be open for the next 15 to 30 minutes. So you can only enter from now till the next 15 to 30 minutes, so make sure you get your forms in. But thank you everyone for watching, and Billy, thank you so much for joining us again.
You're always welcome, sir. I'm here, and I guess I'll be here as long as Pac-Man's here. So
of course, hopefully we'll never do this. If everyone liked it, we'll come up with some awesome content for you guys, and we'll do another live stream.
Thank you, Billy.
You're always welcome, sir.
All right, thank you, everyone.